The newest release is up on FYD Apparel. Link is in the description. We have these basketball jerseys that I've been working on for a few months. It is now summer. It is now time to break out the basketball jerseys that I always do on the channel. We've gone with 15 because we started the brand in 2015. We have Dream on the back with the color contrast of red and black against a off-white and tan jersey with chasers on the front just there with the 15. These are available in limited numbers right now. Link is in the description. So, welcome to a very sad video actually. The cards have been drawn on the Lexus GS300, my daily driver. One of the best cars I have ever driven as a daily driver. I feel like these cars are just insane. They're so good as an all-rounder. I originally bought this car with just under 200,000 miles on the clock from a driveway from a gentleman that had had it for 10 years. Subsequently sat after failing its MOT and they moved on into a newer shaped CT200 Lexus. And as the story goes, he couldn't part ways with it at the time because he loved the car. It was a fantastic daily driver to him, to his family. He even moved to the Isle of Wight in this car with his family, with all their stuff in this car. So I'm actually not that excited about doing this video or anything to do with this car because over the last 6 months of me owning this thing, I've really bonded with it. I bonded with the last GS300 Mark II that I had, and it sounds really silly and it's hard for me to explain why I like these cars so much, but after having 7 of this variant, yes, 7 versions of the GS platform, this is probably one of the best because it's the cheapest one I've bought at just £500. When I bought it sight unseen, it didn't start, it had no MOT, it had moss growing out of it. I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, but I knew for the love of these cars I was going to buy it. Over the months I have become to realise that although this is a great daily driver and it's not for sale, its parts, its engine is worth more to me than me driving it around every day. So you guys will know for worth, if you've been following the channel, I had made the decision a few months ago to sell my Mark IV Supra 2JZ GE engine. So that's a non-turbo 2JZ from a Mark IV Supra that I'd picked up from a shed from a friend that had it in his Mark IV Supra, but it was a lot worse for wear. It looked like it had been under the ocean for many years, and the plan is still to put a 2JZ into my 1966 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, my dream car, ultimate be-all and end-all car. The realization came when I had this car, you know, driving around, it was sitting, it was, you know, being enjoyed. We sold the 2J out of the Mark IV Supra. It wasn't worth me putting tons of money into that non-proven engine when I had a proven running and driving 2JZ right here. So the day has come. We've got to say our goodbyes. Well, my goodbyes, because I don't think anybody else here really cares, but I genuinely am a little bit cut up about this one. This is a good car. This is a really good car, and everybody out there, if you don't mind the MPG being 25 to 30 MPG, you will not find a better car. This is one of the best. It really is. Genuinely, like, it is a very good car, and I'm really not very happy about doing this, but its heart will live on, like the Titanic song. My heart will go on. You know that song, yeah? Well, its heart will live on in my Cadillac, and this is the bit we're interested in the most. The 2JZ GE engine that came in the Mark II GS300 VVTi engine, because this is a later model car. It is exactly what I need for the project. We're obviously going to turbocharge this engine, but this car has proven itself to be absolutely fantastic. It drives, it just consistently starts in the morning. I know it sounds so silly because it should, but at 200,500 miles with 0 service history, it's proven itself to be just fantastic. So yeah, we're gonna have to pull its heart out, unfortunately. So enough of me going on about this. Farewell to the GS300. You will of course see some content of it being taken apart, but if you would like any parts off this, please let me know, because I mean, I do need a lot of parts. But follow me on Instagram because I will put bits and bobs up that you GS300 owners may need, and the shell might live on. Well, I will tell you plans for the shell of this car when the time comes, it might be bang erased. I'm not sure. I've had an offer on the shell, so I mean that might happen, and I will of course take you guys with me, and the final send-off being it going into, I don't know, some large Jaguar from the 70s probably, and just bang, and we'll follow that if it happens. But for now, let's get it down to Advance Automotive, and I'll say my farewells off camera because you guys don't need to see that. And just like that, we are at Advanced Automotive in Ryde on the Isle of Wight, dropping the GS300 off. This again isn't something I want to be doing today, but yeah, it's going to be good. We are going to park it up today, and in a couple of days time we will actually come back and see how far they've got tomorrow. So it is a few weeks later. Let's run into Advanced Automotive, see how far they've got. And before we go in, here is the Lexus. As you can see, it's a lot higher at the front than it was, so that is a very good sign. I will be breaking this car apart though. Again, if you would like any parts off this, let me know. So, as you can see, the Lexus engine from my GS300 is now sat in the engine bay. Now, it may look very similar to what you've already seen, but of course, the Mark IV engine versus the GS engine, there is big differences. One of them being something that we didn't really think was going to happen was we're actually running the Lexus mounts just down here, a lot bigger than the original ones that we were going to use. These are the original ones. Just a universal mount that we were going to use, but thankfully we're actually going to be able to go with the Lexus mounts, which are a lot bigger. So yeah, that should work in our favour when it comes to making the prop up, because the angle of the engine will be a lot better with that 3-inch drop we've been able to get. This also helps with meeting up the lines for the Lexus Rad that will be sat here. Means that everything should just flow a little bit nicer. We're also taking out the original airbox here for the heating for the Cadillac, because again, it's not really needed. It was a massive unit. I'm going to go with the universal one when it comes to it. Just behind the engine here, we're going to make sort of a scoop with the universal heater box and just go straight into the car like that with a switch. So that should be relatively simple to do. Next up with a prop shaft. So this is the original, as you can see, massive prop shaft from the Cadillac. As you can see, it is absolutely massive, and we have the GS300 prop at the top. This is only tacked together just to see, you know, lengths and stuff, because we're going to get a complete custom one made. But the one thing to point out was the end of the GS going into the gearbox has absolutely no give in it. So this is actually a fixed point in the car. Now originally it would have been like this. This is actually a Pontiac, and this will actually slip in and out, which is really good. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury in the GS one, so that's something we're going to have to tackle. Just over here we actually have the what is now the complete wiring for the ECU and engine. So they've completely stripped back every single wire from the car and made it basically just run what it needs, rather than having, you know, every single wire coming off it. We have ECU basically into ignition and then into engine, so this will run just as it should. But again, taking so much of the wires out is something that I was really daunting. I thought it was a daunting task for them to actually go down, but they've made it actually really simple, and it was running on the floor as it came out of the Lexus, which is such good news. So all of this wiring, I know it sounds silly, is literally all the wiring we actually need for the engine. So as you can see, we've still got the Lexus ignition, so we will still have the Lexus key. Now this will actually be sat underneath the dash, so you will start the car underneath the dash, but giving the illusion that it still has all of the Cadillac you know, bezels and key and stuff in it, but with the actual ignition and the starting procedure of the car just under the dash with the original Lexus key. So we're at a really good point now where the engine is sat where it needs to be. It runs, it doesn't drive yet because of the prop shaft, but we are nearly there with just connecting everything up, making a little bit of clearance here and there for other little bits and bobs, and then the next video we should have this thing running. And as we jump back in the RS Turbo, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching today's video. It is a mammoth marathon to get this car where we sort of want it to be. It is a passion of mine to make this car drivable, usable, and, you know, create something that in my mind is right. Putting a 2JZ in a Cadillac is the most ridiculous thing I've ever said out loud, but we are slowly getting there. It just takes time and a lot of effort, especially from Advanced Automotive, to get it to this point. So again, thank you so much to those guys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.